Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into some seriously transformative material all about personal boundaries. Look, if you're someone who constantly carries around that massive, heavy burden of overcommitment, you know the feeling, the insights we are unpacking today are going to completely flip how you view your daily interactions. Okay, let's dive into this.
Let me ask you something. Have you ever said yes when you really truly meant no? Seriously, we have all been there. You're completely exhausted, your schedule is already packed to the brim, someone asks for a tiny favor, and your brain is just screaming no, but somehow, some way, your mouth completely goes rogue and, sure, yes, just slips right out. We end up totally ignoring our own needs just to accommodate someone else. It's crazy.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is Section 1, the disease to please.
Our source material literally defines this massive problem as the disease to please. It's this compulsive habit of saying yes to requests even when you know deep down you really should say no. And the immediate result of that? You end up absolutely furious with yourself, right? It is this vicious, endless cycle of agreeing, totally resenting the fact that you agreed, and then just repeating the whole shebang the very next time someone asks.
Think about it like this. On the outside, you're giving this big external yes. You're smiling, you're accommodating, you're basically playing the nicest person in the whole world. But internally, man, it's a hard internal no. The text points out something so true here. While you are sitting there just drowning in angst and worry over how you're going to get this done, the other person has already moved on, totally happy with their yes. They aren't thinking about your stress at all.
Moving right along into Section 2, the intention of yes.
When you really break down why we cave in like this, the text highlights this cascading effect. First, we don't want the person to be upset. Then, we certainly don't want them angry at us. And most of all, we just desperately want to be seen as a nice person. But here is the fascinating twist. Projecting that nice person image, that's exactly why people keep coming back to ask you for things. Without even realizing it, you are training them that you'll always say yes.
Nothing is showing up in your life that you didn't order there. I really want to let that sink in for a second. The text presents this massive, kind of tough realization. If you are currently drowning in requests, your constant, over-the-top accommodation actually actively invited all those endless demands into your life. You placed the order.
So, the crucial point is that when you say yes but actually mean no, people aren't reading your mind, right? They're reading your actions. They follow the intention of that yes. They see your external agreement as this genuine, practically unlimited permission slip simply because you've established yourself as the go-to person who will always bend over backwards for them.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 3, defining your own boundaries.
Think about the number 100. The text offers this incredibly freeing perspective here. Look, just because you receive, say, 100 requests a week, it absolutely does not mean you're obligated to try and fulfill a single one of them. The sheer overwhelming volume of demands placed on your time, that doesn't strip away your permission to say no, not at all.
So how do we actually stop this cycle? Well, the source outlines a super clear process for setting boundaries. First up, you have to determine what you actually want to do, which is honestly a step we almost always skip. From there, you start making active decisions about your resources. You get to decide exactly who to give your money to, who to give your time to, and who gets your service. This framework is a great reminder that how you allocate your resources is entirely 100% in your hands.
And that brings us right to our final part. Section 4, Master of Your Fate.
You're the master of your fate, the captain of your soul. The source material builds up to this absolutely incredible epiphany, and it just completely changes the meaning of everything we've talked about. It shifts the entire narrative. You do not have to be some passive victim constantly swamped by other people's endless requests. You are the one holding the wheel.
And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate transformation the text advocates for. Think of it like a giant puzzle. On one side, you've got a life driven entirely by what other people want you to do. That's the disease to please in full swing. But on the other side, you are taking full charge of your own destiny. You're moving away from this exhausting, reactive state where you're just putting out fires for everyone else and stepping into a proactive state where your choices belong solely to you.
Which leaves us with a final, really provocative thought directly from our source. Make your choices by simply asking, what do you feel is the next right move for you? Not for your boss, not for your neighbor, not for your family, but for you. So I challenge you. Look at your schedule right now. Look at all the favors you've been asked for this week. Apply this boundary setting lesson literally today. Seriously, what is the next right move for you?
Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, I really hope you start taking charge of your own destiny today.